Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a very special open spoiler discussion about the new Warner Brothers film Joker starring Joaquin Phoenix. Now, in case that didn't give it away, let me make this abundantly clear. This discussion that we're about to have is going to be all open, full spoilers about everything Joker. If you haven't seen Joker yet, then you might either want to just, add this to the watch later list or just, go away for now and come back a little bit later. Or if you don't care, you don't care. That's fine with me too. My name, of course, is John Campea, and a couple things to let you guys know. I got sick yesterday. Well, actually, I got sick on Friday. And I'm very much under the weather right now. And we'll see how much today's show I'm able to get through. But helping me get through this, at least reading off the questions for me, you guys have seen him. If you follow me on social media, you see my buddy Ryan in a bunch of our pictures. You guys know him as Ben Affleck, of course. So my buddy Ryan Myers is here. Ryan, thank you for being here to help me.
Oh, no problem, man.
Now, just to be clear, you've seen the movie, so we're not spoiling anything for you.
You're not torturing me. Yes.
I'm not torturing you. So Ryan was, of course, over here because it's Sunday. We watch football on Sunday, so he was kind enough to say he would help me get through this stuff. So before we get to your live questions, guys, again, you guys have already seen my review of this movie. I love it. I think it's great. I also think, I get why this movie isn't for everybody. I understand why some people don't like it. I get that. For me, though, it riveted me the entire time. I loved it. I thought it was a beautiful examination of what happens to a broken person when he's surrounded by a broken environment. And on that level, I thought it was brilliant and genius. And let me say this. There are people out there saying that Joker glorifies violence. I would respond to that by saying bullshit. That would be my official response to that. I don't understand how you would say, this movie glorifies violence, but John Wick didn't. I don't understand that at all. Now, some people will try to say, but you see, in Joker, they made you feel empathy for him while he was doing horrible things. Therefore, they justified why he did horrible things. Therefore, that means it's glorifying it. And my answer to that is, again, bullshit. That's completely not true. This was a movie that was told from the lunatic's point of view. And when it's told from the lunatic's point of view, 9 times out of 10, lunatics perceive what they're doing as justified or necessary. What I put up on my social media the other day was this. Did Avengers Infinity War glorify genocide? Did it? Because according to that same logic, half of Infinity War was about justifications for genocide being made. We constantly see Thanos talking about the justifications for genocide. But I didn't see anybody accusing Avengers Infinity War of glorifying genocide. No, because you and I were all intelligent enough to know that the majority of that movie was told from Thanos' perspective. And as Thanos is a lunatic, we understand that lunatics always see their actions as justified. So it was just showing us that through his perspective. The same thing is true of Joker. Joker does not glorify violence. Joker does not glorify anything that Joker does in that movie. But it does tell it to us from his point of view, from the twisted mind that he has and his perspective and his point of view. But that means the movie is glorifying it, not at all. And I think you and I and all of us are big and ugly enough, as my mother would say, to understand the difference. And I think most of us do. So no, I flatly reject this ridiculous notion that Joker somehow glorifies violence. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And if you want to say it does, then you're going to have to apply that same flawed logic to every other movie. Like, for those of you who've seen The Boys on Amazon, does The Boys glorify plane crashes? No, it doesn't glorify plane crashes. And so no, it's a ridiculous notion. I reject it entirely, as should everybody else. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. So listen, enough of me ranting and raving about this movie. I thought the movie was brilliant. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I think it's going to win Best Picture of the Year? No, I don't, but I loved it, and I thought it was great, and Joaquin Phoenix will get a nomination, at minimum a nomination, for Best Lead Actor. He might even win the damn thing, but at minimum, he's going to get a nomination. One other thing I should address here is this, because I've had a lot of people asking me this. A lot of people ask me, well, John, whose Joker was better, Heath Ledger's or Joaquin Phoenix? Who did the better performance? And I understand the question, because Heath Ledger, I mean, it was a celebrated performance. He won the Academy Award for playing Joker. It's one of the most celebrated roles in the history of comic book movies, in one of the most celebrated comic book movies of all time. I get it. My answer, though, not meant to be a cop-out, but is simply this. You cannot compare the performances of Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix because in every real sense, they were portraying two completely different characters. The character of Arthur Fleck in Joker is a monumentally different character than the character that Heath Ledger played in Dark Knight. They are two different characters. They both wear the makeup and they're both called Joker, but there are two very, very different incarnations. They're both brilliant. They're both fantastic, but I would say there's no point in trying to compare them because they are such radically different characters that I will say this, though. They're both Oscar level performances. And will we see Joaquin win his? Maybe, maybe not. We know Heath did, so we'll leave that up to everybody else as they go. All right. With that down, again, let me apologize in advance. Throughout this broadcast, I'm going to be coughing from time to time. I'm going to be pausing more frequently than normal to sip on my tea. And every once in a while, I'm even going to pop holes in my mouth. I know it's rude to talk while you got candy in your mouth, but if I'm going to get through this, that's just what I got to do. All right. So with all that down, let's get things going here, and we're going to start things off. Where are we starting out with, right here?
Okay. First question's from Dimsum05. The movie had me riveted, and then Crime Alley happened. My eyes rolled out of their sockets, and it left me with a sour taste. Still a good flick, though.
I'll tell you what. Initially, I'm not going to lie to you. Initially, I kind of had the same response. I kind of had the same response to that. When I saw that Crime Alley was going to be happening, I kind of felt the same way you did, in the sense of, do we really need to see the Waynes die again? Do we really need to see that? I don't know that we do. But you know what? As it started playing out, I started to find a comfort in the connective tissue between the classic story and this, because Joker on many levels is its own story in so many ways, and to throw in a little bit of something familiar, just a little bit of something familiar, like the death of the Waynes at the end. By the end of the film, I ended up appreciating it. But hey, listen, Dim Sum, I totally get where you're coming from, brother. I can totally get why you felt that way. Absolutely. All right, what's next?
All right, Superman Steve, his question. In my personal opinion, just comment. In my personal opinion, I think they took the pillow scene too far in the hospital.
I don't know. To me, the pillow scene was a tipping point, if you will, because we knew he was mad and he was going crazy and he was on some kind of a descent. But to me, when he actually murdered his own as it turns out, adopted mother, that showed, to me, that was the point of the film that said Arthur was beyond the point of no return. There are other things that you could have written off as a mistake, something he'll regret later, blah, blah, blah. But once he did that, that was like telling us, the audience, that there's no going back. He has crossed a line now. He has gone that far. So I thought it was strong and powerful, and I thought I thought it had narrative purpose for myself. All right, what's next?
From Carmelo Smith. Hey, John, the song Smile is stuck in my head.
There are so many songs in the movie that stuck in my head. First of all, when they started singing Send in the Clowns, I thought that was powerful. You know what? The use of the soundtrack was very well done. That's one of the things that I thought was strong in the movie. Had a very well done soundtrack, a very good use of the soundtrack. So, I like that. All right, what's next?
From Adam Martinez. When Arthur says to Murray that if he was killed, that you'd step over my body, that gave me chills. Most powerful line in this masterful movie. It's
true. There are, as we get into the final parts of the movie, Arthur starts to now, for the first time, manifest and give words to his evolving mindset, right? Which is where we start to see the formation. Because remember, this is a origin movie in a way. It's a standalone film, but it's an origin movie at the same time. We start to see the formation of the philosophy of the Joker, and he starts that by espousing the foundational truths. You would have just stepped over me. I mean, it's brilliant in that way, as a matter of fact, and I thought it was very effective, and on that level, it worked great for me. All right, what's next?
This question's from Jim Riley. Was there bread in the fridge he got in, or am I crazy?
Hey, listen, I know people who put bread in the fridge.
We had this conversation after the movie of who kept their bread in the fridge. Someone said they keep it in the freezer. So yeah, there was a few.
I've known people who keep bread in the fridge.
So, not me, but there was 2 or 3 people in our group that's what they do. So
you know what? I am more. I know a lot of people put bread in the freezer. I am more likely to put bread in a fridge than I am a freezer because I don't know. Once something freezes, I feel like it's never going to be the same again. I don't know.
Especially bread. I don't want soggy bread.
Gross. Who wants soggy bread? Put it in the fridge. You're good to go. You get a little bit more life out of it. Okay, what's next?
Next question is from Sam Fisher. I also knew that Murray was going to die because as soon as I saw the scene, I thought Dark Knight Returns.
Well, I mean, look, one of my criticisms of the movie was that while there are definitely certain parts of the film that do a really good job of misdirects, and I'm sure we'll get to that in just a minute. I'm sure we'll get to that. But aside from the misdirects, which I thought were done very well, there were a couple of things that I thought were pretty obvious was going to happen. The death of Murray was pretty clear. I mean, I had no doubt whatsoever that was one of them. It was still powerful when it happened. I was surprised because I knew it was going to happen. I mean, nobody told me in advance, but I could just tell it was going to happen. But when it happened in the theater I was in, there was a lot of shock in the theater I was in. So, true. And yeah, it's got a little bit of a Dark Knights, but I thought that was one of the more predictable elements of the movie. All right, what's next?
Next question is from Snake Jerusalem. I think he is the Joker, but the film happens in his head up until that last scene. This is a multiple choice backstory, just like The Killing Joke. I
disagree. I think everything that happens in the movie is real, and the things that aren't real, the movie then reveals to us wasn't real. So, for example, he did have that stand-up in the comedy club. It's just that he thought Zazie Beetz was there. But then the movie gives us the flashbacks to show us, no, when he was doing a stand-up, she was not there. He looked at the poster on the wall. But the problem is she wasn't actually there, and the movie flashes back to us and shows us that she was not there. As he's sitting in the hospital with his mother, she was there, but then that shows us in a flashback, actually she wasn't there. So there's a lot of people wondering, I don't understand this. There's a lot of people wondering, oh, no, it was all an imaginary illusion. No, everything that happened in the movie happened, except for the stuff that the movie then pointed out to us didn't happen. The movie set a precedent. When there's something like he did with the first shot when he, in his imagination, appears on the Murray show, he's in the audience and Murray brings him up. They immediately then tell us that was just in his imagination. Then the stuff with Zazie Beetz, the movie tells us those things that happened, that was in his imagination. So the movie sets a precedent that when there were things being made up in his head, they would then show us what those things were. I don't think the intent was for us to wonder now what else was saying. I just walked out with the assumption, I thought pretty clear assumption that everything else was literal and real. Now, I don't know. I'd have to talk to Todd Phillips and find out for sure, but that was kind of the way I imagined in my head at any rate. All right, what's next?
Okay, next question is from Sam Fisher. So like in the scene where Arthur goes to do his stand-up, I almost walked out of embarrassment for Arthur.
Dude, it reminded me a lot of The Office. In the sense of The Office was a master show at creating moments of uncomfortability. Like moments that you would feel so uncomfortable watching. There were many, many times watching The Office that I had to, despite it being hilarious, that I'd have to get up physically and walk out of the room because I couldn't take it. And I mean that in all the best way. But yeah, that scene with him going up to do the comedy, that was definitely one, and that was by design. I believe that was absolutely by design and was very effective. All right, what's next?
Benny95, but that ending was equally amazing, stating how some of us not getting the joke was deeply profound. What was real and what wasn't? 9 out of 10 for me, 2 out of 2.
Yeah, again, I didn't walk out having any doubt about what was real and what wasn't. Because again, like I said, the movie set a pattern. When they show us something that wasn't real, the movie itself would reveal to us that it was not real. So I personally, and I can only speak for myself, me personally as an audience member, I didn't have any sort of that apprehension or wondering, but I tell you what, man, it made an impact on me. This is a movie I've got to see 2 or 3 more times. It definitely had a powerful, it punched you in the gut. And I'll look forward to watching it again. All right, let's see, where are we at here? What is next?
Okay, question from Sam Fisher. I enjoyed it, but I'm the kind of person who gets uncomfortable and embarrassed for the characters.
Yeah, and again, I think that was by design. They did a lot of that on purpose, and I think the uncomfortability of those scenes positions the audience to get the effect of what the filmmakers are trying to transpose onto us. And on that level, I agree with you, but I thought that was by design. I thought it was done very well. All right, what's next?
From Oh My God Ruler. I was terrified for the guy reaching for the door.
Oh my gosh, that scene with the dwarf dude. Oh my god, that scene. Like it. Todd Phillips, I think, understood as this movie was starting to get. Now this is not a comedy, but I feel like Todd Phillips understood as a filmmaker that it was starting to get so heavy that he had to give the audience a breath, and that breath came with a little bit of a laugh. He wanted to give the audience a little bit of a laugh as things were starting to sink and get very, very heavy. He gave us a little bit of a breath for that so we wouldn't get bogged down in it too much. And yeah, that scene was absolutely great. All right, what's next?
From Benny95, I thought the movie was going to end where the Joker was on top of the police vehicle finally gaining his acceptance. I love that imagery.
It was great, and I honestly thought that was too, but them going into the asylum made it even better, because here's the thing to me. I don't know if you saw this, Ryan, but when he was in there, see, my buddy Rob, he was like, one of Rob's criticisms, and there are many people who don't like this movie, and that's perfectly fine. One of Rob's criticisms of the film was, the Joker's supposed to be this mastermind, not a doofus. I get that, but remember, this is before he's Joker. This is the birth of the Joker. And to me, it was that last scene when he's in the asylum and he's laughing. She goes, "Tell it to me," and he looks at her very sternly and says, "You wouldn't get it." It was like, to me, it wasn't when he shot Murray. It wasn't when he suffocated his mother, although those moments set him clearly on his path. To me, it was that moment in the asylum with the doctor, and he says, "You wouldn't get it." That, to me, was the moment the Joker was born. Like, to me, as I'm watching that, and I thought, so I understand the criticism people have that this, he wasn't smart enough, he wasn't cunning enough. That's not what the Joker is. Yeah, but we are looking at the formation of that character before he was born, so to speak. And to me, that end scene, that was the moment Joker was truly born. Anyway, that's just kind of the way I see it. All right, what's next?
Questions from DC. Hi, John. How's your day going? Just felt like showing you some love, and I'm happy that you like Joker.
Oh, thank you so much, DC. I'm not doing great. I'm a little bit sick. I'm trying to get over it here as good as I can. But yeah, I really did enjoy the Joker. It met all of my expectations. And my expectations were high, and I'm super thrilled about it, and I'm super happy about it. So I'm glad you liked it too. So thank you so much, DC. All right, what's next?
Okay, next question is from Coolsum XD. Sorry, John, I hated it. Why did he get in the fridge?
Well, it's okay if you hated it. That's what movies are, man. Movies are subjective. Not all movies work for everybody, dude. So there's nothing wrong with that.
The only thing I could think about when he got in the fridge was Indiana Jones.
See, that's the real question. If you want to ask why did somebody get in a fridge, you should be asking why did Indiana Jones to avoid a nuclear explosion? Really? Yeah. That's going to protect you? Honestly, I saw that as an act of a crazy person.
Basically,
it's like, and he's just getting that. I don't know, maybe if he was thinking about committing suicide in there by maybe suffocating himself, which is what would happen eventually. I don't know, but it was the act of somebody who was becoming unhinged. So for me, I got to say it didn't take anything away from me at all. It just showed him like sinking deeper and deeper into a psychosis. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Next question is from Jack Leo. You get what you deserve. Wow, love this movie.
There were so many moments of this film right from the beginning, because I think like the movie opens with Joaquin Phoenix and that maniacal laugh. And as soon as that happens, I'm like, oh my God, they are not wasting any time setting the tone of what this movie's going to be. And I loved it, filled with great lines and everything. So yeah, I'm completely with you on that. All right, what's next?
Okay, next question from Andres Martinez. During the movie, whenever Thomas Wayne showed up, all I kept thinking was what Alec Baldwin's take would have been like.
Yeah, because for some of you who may not remember, Alec Baldwin was originally cast to play that role. We reported on it. He was going to play Thomas Wayne, and I don't know why it fell through, but I thought it would have been pretty good. Don't get me wrong. I think the guy did a great job. It would have been kind of fun seeing Alec Baldwin in there, though. All right, what's next?
Okay, next question is from Zuki86. I live in Iowa, and there was a police officer there. And I don't think we got dim sum. I think that's the first question we did about the crime alley happening.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah. Next up.
Okay, Zuki86. I live in Iowa, and there was a police officer there and would check in on the movie every so often. Crazy that this is the world we live in now. Do you know if they did the same in Canada or in other countries?
I don't know if they did it in other countries. I really don't. I have no idea. I didn't really follow that look, there are losers out there who are going to try to take advantage of situations to do something stupid, and it is what it is, and it's unfortunate that that's the case. But like you and I know somebody that had that. Was it? Would you say it was Matt that was supposed to go to one?
One of our friends was watching the movie in Huntington Beach, and someone called in a bomb threat at the theater. So
can you do me a favor? Can you tap your mic? I think we're having problems with your mic. Okay, can you speak into your mic?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I guess we're getting there. So who was it that?
Yeah, so one of our friends was watching Joker in Huntington Beach, showed up, and someone called in a bomb threat, so they closed the theater.
Yeah,
so nobody could watch it. So
there are losers out there, Zuki. There are losers out there who's going to stuff like that, and they're going to take advantage of this sort of thing. But anyway, dude, thank you. That was a big super chat. Thank you for sending that and supporting the channel. But no, as far as I know, I know like maybe it happened, but I have not heard of it happening in Canada or the UK or anything else like that. For as far as I know, it was just an American phenomenon. Okay, what's next?
Sure. Dim Sum 05. Joker gunning down that guy in the subway steps in cold blood was easily the most chilling moment of the movie for me. And then dancing. What the F?
Yeah, so it was the most chilling moment of the movie for me at the moment.
Yeah.
Then other things happened that became the most chilling moment of the movie for me. Like him shooting the one guy, the first guy was self-defense. But then he broke.
Yep.
And like chasing down the guy who was running away and shooting in the back. And then, yes, the dancing. I think that was Tai Chi he was doing in there. So the only thing, the one thing I was thinking about that is like, oh, because he was in the hospital before. And I'm just assuming that they probably did Tai Chi as a way that he can calm his emotions. So my thought was he was doing Tai Chi in the bathroom just as a way to try to calm himself and gain control. I mean, I might be wrong, but that was what I interpreted. But yeah, that was a harsh scene. All right, what's next?
Okay, next question is from Nathan Oswald. If someone says they didn't like it because there wasn't enough action and or no Batman, I lose respect for them. If you didn't like it because of the disturbing performance or the gritty realism, fair enough.
I wouldn't say that, Nathan. Because look, we all approach movies looking for different things, and different things will give us different experiences. Look, I said before Joker came out that one of my worries was that people would be thinking, understandably, because it's the Joker, that people would be thinking they're going to get a stereotypical, run-of-the-mill comic book movie, which can be great. And if they went in that looking and hoping for some action and some all that kind of stuff, then yeah, they were going to walk out disappointed. But I don't think you should lose respect for somebody because, look, we all like movies for our own reasons. And we all dislike movies for our own reasons. That's why films are subjective. They hit us in different ways. So I wouldn't say I lose any respect for anybody for not liking a movie for whatever the reasons are. If that movie needed action and whatever and Batman to show up for the work, well, okay, then that's what it would have needed to work for them. It's not what I needed for it to work for me. It's clearly not what you needed for it to work for you. But I don't think we lose respect for other people just because they had different criteria for the movie going into it than we did. Movies are movies. It's all subjective. We all go into it with our own approaches. Okay, what's next?
It's from Nathan Oswald again. I rarely ever use this term, but to me, Joker truly is a masterpiece. Solid 10 out of 10. My number one of the year.
It's not my number one of the year. I don't know. And personally, this is why it's all different. I don't know that I would call it 10 out of 10. I had a couple issues with the movie, but I was enthralled with it. I do think it was a masterpiece. I thought, again, I've said it many, many times, but I'll say it many times more. It is a beautiful look at a damaged person surrounded by a damaged environment. It's a broken person in an environment of brokenness. And on that level, it's just pure ecstasy to watch. And the way he handled it, the director handled it, the way Joaquin Phoenix performed it, it was truly something special on that level to me. It was truly something, something special. All right, what's next?
It's from Dim Sum 05. Saw him shooting the talk show host a mile away and still made the Pikachu face.
Yeah. Like I said, I saw it coming forever. And I think there are probably many of you guys watching that we all saw it coming. It still had an impact, though. And I got to admit, I thought everybody would see it coming. But again, in my theater that I was in, when he shot him, there was a lot of gasping. in the theater I was in. Like, it caught a lot of people by surprise, which was surprising to me, as a matter of fact. All right, what's next?
From Nathan Oswald. I know Scorsese had to leave the production of Joker for The Irishman, but why wasn't he credited? Not even an executive producer.
We don't know. He was part of bringing, he worked with the director and brought it to Warner Brothers. He got the project up and running, but what all the fine details are of what he would have needed to do to attach his name to as a producer or not, who knows? No idea. It doesn't affect the movie one way or the other, so it's not really that important. All right, what's next?
Okay, the next question is from Tom Weisenberg. I had a bad day. The movie floored me with how well it got the Joker. Even the scene where Arthur tries to make Bruce smile felt like a direct parallel to the Batman-Joker dynamic we know. In
a weird, twisted kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, it's like it wasn't a parallel, but it moved in parallel. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't on the same street, but it was like 2 streets over that happens to run in the same direction as that street. It followed a pattern, but did it several shades darker. If you know what I mean, if you know what I'm saying. This was a very unique sort of Joker, but yeah, that when she comes in and she goes, and you realize that he had never actually had that relationship with Zazie Beetz, and he's like, I had a bad day. He's like, woo!
Yeah.
No kidding. It was strong, Tom. It was powerful. I think it did some things very uniquely, but still following a similar pattern. Again, not parallel, but moving in parallel. Anyway, that's how I would kind of define it, which isn't all that different, I suppose. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Rufino Salazar Jr. I left feeling cold and unsure what was real or fake, but having time to think about the movie, I did like it. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, again, I'm a little bit surprised to hear how many people are questioning the what was real and what was fake. To me, and again, I'm only speaking from my perspective and what my experience was when I was there. I thought the movie made it very clear which parts were real and which parts weren't. Everything was real until it told us there were certain parts that weren't real. Other than that, we were good to go. Like, some people would try to say to me, no, everything was a dream. It's like, well, wait a minute, no. Because in telling us that Zazie wasn't there in the comedy club, it showed us that comedy club happened. That scene happened.
Yeah.
Him standing out on the street and seeing the poster on the wall. Yeah, Zazie wasn't there, but the movie makes it clear that did happen. The stuff in the hospital with his mom, that did happen. So to me, that really wasn't an issue. But who knows, Rufino, like, maybe I've only seen it once so far. Maybe after I see it 2 or 3 more times, maybe I'll start to see it a little bit differently. That's one of the beautiful things about movies, that we start to see things a little bit differently sometimes. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Tom Weisenberg again. Also regarding a point you've made before, this movie gave the best reason as to why the Waynes would ever go down crime alley.
It does. I never really thought about that. I mean, that's kind of one of the running jokes, right? In all of comic book fandom. It's, why the hell were the Waynes walking down something called Crime Alley? Mm-hmm. Like, what was this did give it actually, this movie did something we've never had before, a legitimate reason for the Waynes going down that alley. Because that kind of felt natural. They come out, there's crazy stuff going on, so they duck down an alley to try to escape it. Yeah, actually, I didn't think about it that way before, Tom, but it does. It gives it that sort of a context. All right, what's next?
From Amir B. What's the punchline? There's no punchline.
Yeah, again, just another one of those moments, Amir, that was just so strong. It does give chills. All right, what's next?
This is from Amir B. Also, I got choked up for Arthur at 2 points. When he imagines Murray wished to have him as a son, and when he saw those adoption files.
Woo! Yeah, I'll go ahead and read his second part down there.
I wouldn't be here. The violence in this.
No, Amir.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my parents. Having caring parents is crucial in passing troubled times. Seeing how Arthur only imagined love, a hug, was so tragic.
It's true.
Yeah.
And when you really go back, you think about that. Just the fact that, even in his dreams, is somebody giving him a hug. That personal validation, something that he was lacking, something that he wanted so much. And we're so used to seeing movies where a broken character receives that love and that affirmation in a healed world, bringing healing to the character. That's what we're used to seeing in these movies. Joker gives us a different picture. It paints a different picture to us. It paints a picture of a broken guy in an environment of brokenness. And what happens when brokenness is compiled on top of brokenness, and how much is too much for one person to take. To even the point of just the simplest thing like a hug, maybe could have put him on a different path in his life. We won't know. We'll never know, but it is crazy when you think about it on that level. All right, What's next?
Okay, this is from Amy Ramirez. The violence in this movie felt so real, like Atomic Blonde fight scene real. when he shoots Murray and stabs Randall. Do you get what I mean?
Oh, yeah. There was something, there's a term I use for that, and maybe I use the term inappropriately, but there's a visceralness to it. There's something to it that feels powerfully real and uncomfortably real. Like it isn't, like you watch John Wick and the violence there feels comic bookish in an amazingly great way, but it feels like it's not set in reality. But this feels like something you were watching on the late night news, which gives it another level of discomfort. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Tom Weisenberg. A reason why he got in the fridge, to me, it felt like he was trying to block out the world for a moment.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, sometimes like there are people getting closets when they get super stressed out. I mean, this is a real thing. There are people who just get in their closets and close the door. We saw that in with Superman with a young Clark Kent in Man of Steel, that he just locked himself in a closet in the school. But that's something that a lot of people do. Some people go into a bathroom and close the door. Some people go into a closet and close the door. Some people go into their bedroom and close the door. He got into a fridge because he's a maniac. So, I mean, but it's true, Tom. I think there was overtones of that as well. All right, what's next?
Next one's from Darth Scorn. I see the influences of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but I also see shades of 1 Hour Photo.
Well, I think because the reason that is because 1 Hour Photo was also heavily influenced with Robin Williams by Taxi Driver. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that it's a matter of, I don't think he looked at, I don't think Todd Phillips looked at 1 Hour Photo and found that to be an influence. I just think that he and 1 Hour Photo both drew a little bit from the same influential movies. So that's how I see it. But because of that, I don't think you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? All right, what's next?
Next one, I'll probably butcher this, but Taft Threeful, quoting, what do you get when you mix a mentally ill person with a society that abandons them? You get what you F-word deserve. Standout line of the movie.
Look, it's so funny that we've already had about 7 different people write in, this is the stand line of the movie. No, this is the stand. That's the thing. This movie is filled with so many great standout moments and standout lines. But now, I've heard some people criticize that line, saying it's a little bit on the nose. And maybe it is, but it was a little bit on the nose for narrative purpose, in the sense that it made the line punch me in the gut. I think if it was done more subtly, I don't know that it would have had the same impact. But yeah, it was a powerful, powerful line, no doubt about it. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Curtis Lopez. I truly love this movie, my new favorite movie of this year. I'm truly blown away of how it transcends the comic book genre. Half the time I didn't feel I was watching a comic book movie, but a legit psychological thriller. You
know, this is something that Rob talks about all the time, is that we've never really had an age yet where comic book movies have transcended their own limitations of what comic book movies are. And that's fine, because a lot of comic book movies are done very nicely within the boundaries of comic book movies, and they're awesome, and they're brilliant. But it's very rare that we get a comic book movie that truly, I think, transcends the limitations of a comic book movie. As a matter of fact, I think there's only ever been 3. I think there has been, in no particular order, I think it's been Logan, mm-hmm. I think it's been The Dark Knight, and now I think it's Joker. That you take out the makeup. This is a powerful movie, even if you don't call it Joker. Yeah. Granted, you can't get away from it being a super-powered being, but you take out the recognizable name of Wolverine and things like that. Logan works. You take away the Batman motif, although a lot of it's connected in, it still works. These are movies that transcended the genre and the regular limitations of comic book movies to become something more. And I think this is absolutely one of them, Curtis Lopez. I completely agree with your assertion of that. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Tom Weisenberg. I thought the use of laughter as a medical condition was a stroke of brilliance. Added so much to it.
Yeah, and look, I'll be honest with you right now. I don't know if that's a real condition. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but attaching a real-world, grounded reason for that element that we all know about the Joker so much, to me, added a whole new dimension to it that I loved. So to me, it made it great, because not only was it a great explanation, but it created a couple of great moments in the movie where something horrible happens and he starts laughing uncontrollably. Like the thing on the bus with the mom. That broke my heart. But him then breaking out in the laughter of it, there's just so many things that makes you feel. So, yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Curtis Lopez. A few nitpicks. Does Zazie Beetz really not lock her apartment door, especially in that type of neighborhood with her daughter? Also, there's no security at Murray Franklin. Arthur easily smuggled that gun in.
And he's got a couple more.
So then I know Bruce is not a focus, but I still wish they gave him a little personality. He had one line and no reactions to his parents being shot.
Well, one of the things that me and Ryan were talking about today is that kids are idiots.
Usually
the kids are idiots. I mean, I was.
Plus, like every other time his parents die, the 25 times I died in cinema, he doesn't say anything when they get killed. He basically just goes down to them. And then the scene ends. He never screams or yells or anything.
Yeah, well,
so it kind of keeps with the same.
And I don't know that a kid would understand what's
shock.
happening.
Yeah.
Especially a kid that's been as sheltered as Bruce Wayne at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know that he fully understands what's going on. And so I was actually personally okay with that. Security at the Murray Show. I don't know, what do you think the year was in this movie? I felt like it was
70s, probably.
Early 80s is what I kind of felt like. Security would have been different at that point, especially when it's a guest of the show that they're bringing in. So I remember I thought about that for a second. It's wouldn't they have gotten through security? But I guess if he's a guest and during that era and all that kind of stuff, probably wouldn't have been that big of an issue at the time. As if the movie was taking place today, that would be a big issue. That would be a massively, massively big issue. But with the Bruce stuff, I was actually okay with it, the way they handled it, because it was just the kid was stunned.
It's quick, yeah.
And it's well, wait a minute, what's going on? It's strong stuff. It's strong stuff. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Ali Hussein. The Joker was amazing when I went into this movie. Never expected it to be a comic book movie. For me, it was about, that the society is broken.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is, I think you need to go into Joker not looking for it to be a comic book movie. And I've been hearing from some people, and this is fine because all movies hit us in different ways for our own reasons. But the criticisms I hear from some people really do revolve around the fact that this wasn't a comic book enough movie for me. Whether it's, some people saying, well, the real Joker would have been this. It's the real Joker? There's no such thing as the real. But hey, you're talking about the Joker from the comic books. Well, this isn't the comic book, really. This is a twisted, dark look at how would something like that have come to be. And it's just one interpretation of it. And I loved it for what it was. And for me, it just worked so viscerally on that level that it haunted me. It did. It haunted me for the days since I've seen it. Anyway, okay, what's next?
Okay, this one's from Tony Hurd. This is one of the best movies this year. It made me uncomfortable in the best way. Hope we get more movies like this from various studios.
Well, here's the problem, though, Tony. A lot of us only gave this movie a shot because the name's Joker's on it. Let's be honest. Yeah. Let's be honest here. There is a lot of you guys who went to go see this movie, and you never would have gone to see this movie if it was the exact same film, but it wasn't called Joker. And it wasn't to have a connection to the Joker character. Because there are a lot of great, unique, original, psychological kind of movies that come out every year that nobody goes to go and see and go watch. They make lots of these kinds of movies. The problem is we don't go see them. But when it's called Joker, which is actually a stroke of genius, then of course it's going to get our attention. It got my attention. It got your attention. But let's not pretend like the studios haven't put out many great movies with great themes and great depth, but a lot of times they just don't get our attention because they're not called Joker. I was talking on the show the other day about how, in the earlier part of my career doing this stuff, in the movie blog days, even in the early AMC days, I felt like a part of my job was trying to convince people to give comic book movies a chance. The last 5 years, I feel like my job has changed to become trying to convince people to give movies other than comic book movies a chance. And I think there's some truth to it. So I think if you look really hard, Tony, I think you're going to see that the studios do put a lot of ballsy movies out. We never go watch them. And we never give them the time of day, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Okay, this one's from Tony Hurd as well. My only complaint is that I feel like we didn't have to see the Waynes getting murdered again.
Again, I understand that, but what I'll go back to is what I said before. To me, it became the one thread of familiarity. It was the one thing they did in the movie that made it feel familiar to us, to feel like it tied into a grander narrative, you know what I mean? Even though it's a standalone movie and all that kind of stuff. So on that level, I get why it did, because it did feel a little on the nose. But for me, as I was watching it, it came to me as, it feels familiar, and I feel like we needed a little bit of that. But I totally get where you're coming from, dude. I really do. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Curtis Lopez. DC, keep giving us films like this. Marvel and Feige, I hope you soon follow.
Well, I don't know. What do you mean by like this? You know, that's the question. What do you mean by like this? That are just totally grounded in reality and have nothing supernatural or extraordinary in them? I don't know if we want that from our Marvel movies for all of them. I don't know that we want that, because that means no Superman, no Wonder Woman, no Aquaman, no anything like that. This movie was able to do what it did because it was in a world devoid of the paranormal. It was in a world devoid of the supernatural. It was in a world devoid of the, what's the big word they use for people with superpowers now in CW?
Not metas. Metas? No.
Metas, yeah, metahumans. Thank you. That's exactly it, Ryan. It's in a world deprived of metahumans. It worked because it was a completely grounded movie, and the reason it felt completely grounded is because it was in a world that is much more like our own than in a world where Superman and Captain America and Iron Man and all that kind of stuff exist. So I think this is great. This is why I love standalone movies, Ryan. This is why I've been saying for a long time that I love my cinematic universes. I do. But I am starting as a film fan to resent the fact that every fucking movie has to be in some big part of a big show, because you limit your creativity. You limit what you can do. Only in an isolated pocket universe standalone movie like the one we just got with Joker can a movie like Joker actually happen and exist. And that's why I am a proponent of not only having all the great shared cinematic universe movies we have, but having some damn standalone ones too. Because you get to do this type of creative thing. You never could have done this Joker movie in the DCEU. Never could have done it. Never would have worked. Never would have felt real. Never would have had the same visceral nature to it. This movie never could have existed in the MCU. It never would have worked. But because you made it a standalone film that is free of the handcuffs of what the shared cinematic universe is, they were able to tell a deep, compelling story without forcing it to connect to other stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I know it's not grounded in reality in the same way, but it's like Deadpool. You can't put the Deadpool character in those movies right into MCU where he's cursing and talking sexual innuendos and stuff. It just doesn't fit in with the style.
Which is why now we're going to get PG-13 Deadpool, which really pisses me off. Yeah. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Ali Hussein. What was great in the Joker is you never knew what was real or not in Arthur's mind. Todd Phillips did an amazing job with that.
I'll say as the movie was going on, that was true. By the end of the movie, I felt like we had a very clear picture of what was true and what wasn't. But once they revealed the Zazie Beetz thing, once they revealed that he never had that relationship with her, once they revealed that shocker, that meant that for the rest of the movie, it's like, wait a minute, so did this happen? Did it not happen? And I assumed that most of it did happen, and they weren't going to go back to the well too many times on that. As I just spilt my tea all over the place trying to pour it out of this thing properly. Anyway, could you grab me some paper towels? Because I tried pouring it out of the top of this thing instead of just taking the top off and pouring it, and it drizzled all the way down there, and I got most of it into my cup, I think. I think I got most of it into my cup. Anyway, very casual day here. But I never really felt like I questioned what was real and what wasn't. And again, by the time we got around to the end of the film, it was like, no. They told us what stuff wasn't real. They let us know which stuff was. And we're perfectly good on that level. Oh, I'll just take the tissue. Thank you. That'll do it. As I clean up my spot here, guys. Sorry about that, but there we go.
It's really bourbon.
It's really bourbon. Daddy's got to take his medicine. You toss this into the garbage back there? Thank you. Daddy needs his medicine, kiddies. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. All right. So that's how I felt about that. Are you ready to read the next one?
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that, Ryan.
This is from Murray Reich. The Murray Franklin show scene was so intense and unsettling, and I loved it. I knew the guy had it coming to him, but it was a boom like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, look, did the guy deserve a bullet to the head? No, clearly he didn't. But see, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, right? The movie almost made you feel like he had it coming because that's how Arthur felt. Mm-hmm. The movie was told from his point of view. Clearly, making a joke about a guy on TV does not deserve for you to get shot in the head, but because it's told from his point of view, that's the way the narrative kind of played out. And that was kind of part of the brilliance of what they did there. Yeah. All right, what's next?
This is from Murray Reich again. The movie had some funny moments, like the midget guy saying, "How come they didn't question me?" And also, "Can you get the door for me?" Plus that scene where Flex says, "Oh, I forgot to punch out." Oh, which I was the only one in the theater laughing at that part.
Really?
So yeah, I felt like an idiot, but it was still, yeah, we started hitting that thing. I was like, okay,
there were
makes sense.
But that just goes again. Todd Phillips understood that every once in a while it couldn't just be all dreary. Every once in a while you had to pepper it. And I'll say this: I think this movie even possibly could have used a little bit more. Yeah, I think just so. Maybe just a couple of more laughs here and there. But Todd Phillips understood that once in a while you have to give the audience a chance to breathe. And dropping a little joke here and there, letting us laugh in it, prevents us from drowning in it. You know what I mean? And I thought that was very, very key and clearly very, very effective. And honestly, if I was going to give any other criticism to the movie, it might be that it might have been able to use one or two of those moments. Yeah. But that's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Murray Reich again. What really happened at the end of the film? Was Fleck really on top of that cop car, or was he really in Arkham? The film has so many illusions.
No, again, to me, and we all speak from our own personal experience as an audience member, to me, the movie made it very clear. The stuff that wasn't real, it revealed to us wasn't real. Everything else was real. I think, the runaway in the subway, the cops getting injured, shooting Murray, the accident in the streets, the rioting, him ending up in Arkham. I just walked out. My experience was I had no questions in my head that was all real. Again, because the movie set precedent that when something wasn't real, it revealed it to us. So I think everything else in it was real, so that's just kind of my approach to it. All right, what's next?
This is from Alex Pitt. Can't get over how much this movie is sticking with me. I loved it so much. It's easily in my top 5 comic book movies. Would it crack your top 10 list?
God, that's tough. Does it crack my top 10? It might. It might. It's so hard because... I remember we had a topic on the John Campea Show a few weeks ago about, is Joker even really a comic book movie? Now, of course, we talked about it before seeing it. And it's like, well, it is. It is based on comic material, so it is. But in many ways, it isn't. Mm-hmm. But it is. So does it crack my top 10? You know what? I'll be honest with you, Alex, I haven't thought about it in those terms before. But there's a very strong possibility it does, because I love this film. Would you say that it cracks your top 10?
I'd have to think about it, but it's easily top 3 DC for me.
I would say top 3 DC for me, because not counting the Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Yeah. If we're talking, but then again, this isn't DCEU either, but still, I would say for me it's Man of Steel, Shazam, and then probably Joker.
Yeah, probably the same.
But I'd have to think. I don't know. Maybe Joker a little bit more than Shazam. Yeah. I did love Shazam though. All right, what's next?
This person's name is, this is a placeholder name.
I know, I love that name.
Very creative. When I saw this movie, Requiem for a Dream came to mind a little bit. Definitely feels a little bit of an inspiration. Anyways, love this film.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of different types of movies, and I'm glad you went with Requiem for a Dream, because I think you're absolutely right. This does have, because if you have not seen Requiem for a Dream, it is also a very heavy movie, and there are the similar feelings I get watching Joker as I did watching that movie. So I think that's an astute observation. I agree with you. All right, what's next?
This is from Ali Hussein. The weakest part for me was the relationship between Zazie character and Arthur, but wait, it was not real. Todd Phillips did an amazing job with that too.
I'll tell you what, the scene came when she comes to his door and he answers the door. She goes, "Will you follow me today?" Yes. I thought, okay, that's charming. But then that seemed to turn her on. She goes, "Well, cool. I kind of was hoping you come in and rob the place." And I was like, "I'm sorry. Zazie Beetz is hot. I mean, really hot. Mm-hmm. She is not having a problem finding a date Saturday night to random weirdos. Look, obviously she's in a tough spot in life, but she's above random weirdos who are stalking her on the street and who live with their mother." And so that was seeming, and you know what? I settled into it. Yeah. I settled into it. Mm-hmm. It made me think a little bit like that Jack Nicholson movie, As Good as It Gets, where, yeah, she's actually a great woman, but she saw something in him. Yeah. There was a sweetness. So I started to accept it a little bit, but it was always still kind of weird. And then the reveal, which I thought was great. I really did. That was That was one of the best narrative twists to me, and it was a minor one, really, when you think about it. But what it revealed was so revealing about his character and what was going on. I just thought that was great. All right, what's next?
This is from Logan James Nyston. Joker is easily my favorite film of the year. I was flawed, captivated, and deeply affected by it in all the best ways. The score alone is extremely haunting. I seriously think it's a masterpiece.
And there's already a lot of debate going on about whether this is even a good movie. Like there are articles being written that this is a best film of the year candidate. There are articles being written that this is the biggest disappointment movie of the year candidate. Again, it just points to the fact that we all go into these movies and we like them and dislike them for our own personal reasons, and they are what they are. But I am closer to you. Like, again, it is not my number one film of the year, but I'm closer to your way of thinking on this. I thought it was brilliant. And again, just the way it stayed so character-focused, bent reality a bit. It presented the world to us in a way that we are not comfortable and not used to looking at it. It did a lot of things, Logan, that I just thought were so sharp and so smart. And I got to say, man, I agree. I totally agree. All right, what's next?
This is from Curtis Lopez. When the short clown tries to get out of the apartment, it was both funny and suspenseful because Arthur was unpredictable.
I honestly thought he was going to kill him at the door.
Yeah.
I thought, he said, okay, no, you can go. I'm not going to hurt you. I thought, no, he's got that door. He's going to kill him before he leaves. And then the door is locked. And then I thought for sure he was dead. It was a surprise to me that he let him go.
Because that's something the Joker would do.
Yeah, something stupid and random like that. It's like, okay, I really thought the dude was dead, and it turned out he wasn't. But you're right, it was suspenseful. You thought something crazy was about to happen, and then away they went. All right, what's next?
This is from Benny95. I saw the film with family. They liked it. However, my mom wants to know your thoughts on her criticism. The movie commanded an unrelenting intensity of focus on Arthur's descent into Joker without reprieve of a subplot or development of supporting characters, which would have enhanced Joker's reactions and choices. The movie was therefore in grave danger of becoming one-dimensional, draining, and as the movie continued, boring.
Well, I mean, this is what I'll say, Benny. I think your mother's observation is correct, but I disagree with her of the result of that observation. The observation that was there was not any development of sub-characters or subplots. True, there wasn't. In a traditional 3-act, narrative storytelling, you have sub-characters, you have other things going on as well. So I agree. There was no character development with any of the other characters. You could make an argument that the revelations about Arthur's mom was in its own way character development for her. Okay, you can give it a little bit of that. You can say the double flip revelation about Thomas Wayne was in a way his own character development. You could go that way. But I would make the argument, as somebody who watched the movie, that there simply wasn't screen time to do everything you needed to do with Arthur's descent to allow us to be distracted by other significant subplots or other character development. What this couldn't be was a cop and robber movie. This couldn't be a traditional, one of the cops that was trying to question him, I don't know if you ever watched Boardwalk Empire, but one of the cops was from Boardwalk Empire. And what you couldn't have had is a lot of screen time devoted to those cops as they're trying to put 2 and 2 together. They're trying to figure it out and then go over to him, because then the movie's not really being told from Arthur's point of view. And to me, the power of the movie and the uniqueness of the film comes from the fact that this is being told from his perspective, what he is observing, how he processes it, and what that turns into reality for him. By having other characters and having story unfold away from Arthur makes that problematic. So what I would say personally, Benny, to your mom, is that I think her observation is correct, that did happen. But I would say for the purposes of this movie, it was narratively imperative that they do that they needed to do that. To do something else would have broken the foundational backbone of what this movie was, which was it's a story being told from the perspective of a madman as he descends further into madness. And you break that. What's it called in wrestling? Kayfabe?
Yeah, kayfabe.
You break kayfabe if you go from another perspective on that, right? So I think she's right, but I disagree with her as far as what she thought the outcome of that was. So that's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Ali Hussein. What moment do you think Arthur started to go that path of becoming the Joker?
I think for me, the point of no return. Okay, when it actually happened was in that room at the end of the movie in Arkham. When did he cross the point of no return heading towards that is when he murdered his mother. But the beginning of it, I think, was when he killed those guys in the subway. That to me was when he embraced the psychosis, I guess, for the first time. So there's a moment it began, I think it was in the subway. There's a moment there was no turning back, which is the moment with his mother, and then there was the birth, and I think the birth was that moment in the end in the psych ward. That's my interpretation at any rate.
And he kind of mentions it to Paperboy at the hospital when he says, you know, they say you should feel something when you do something bad, and I did something bad to 3 people. He's like, I didn't feel it at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, there you go.
By the way, the reason he called him Paperboy is because that's his character in Atlanta, of course. All right, what's next?
Okay, Justin McFarlane, you think Joker killed Beats and her kid? I think so, because after he left, in her apartment next scene had him laughing in his place while police sirens sounded.
They do not tell us definitively.
We were arguing about that after.
I have no doubt.
Yeah,
I think
so.
he did.
I think so.
I think at that point, he was gone. You know, he was now planning on going onto television and murdering other people. Mm-hmm. There was no more screaming or crying coming from the apartment. It was all quiet when he came out of there. And I think that's something, you know, in as grim and as dark as they made this movie. And I would love to have a conversation with Todd Phillips to ask him this question. I feel like Todd Phillips thought that would have been too much. Showing him murdering her and her kid might have been too much. And so he just implied it with the, oh God, and then him quietly walking out, and there's no other mention of her again. Yeah. So I interpret it that he did. Whether he did, Todd Phillips might say differently, but that's how I interpreted it. All right, what's next?
Well, this was kind of a second part of Ali Hussein's question about when did he actually become the Joker?
Yes.
So was it when he murdered the 3 guys or when he killed his mom?
Again, beginning of it when he murdered the 3 guys. Point of no return, killing his mother. Actual birth, the moment of birth was in that hospital room. That's the way I saw it at any rate. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is questions from Ryan Lohner. Big gasp in my theater at seeing Zorro on the marquee.
Yeah.
Nice to see so many know the comics on that level.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were very, even in my theater when that came up. So much so that I've had people trying to convince me it really is connected in with a larger universe, like everything from the various posters that were on the walls. Rob talks about that. Rob will probably talk about it on the John Campea Show tomorrow. To the broken pearls, to the Zorro thing. Some people think that that's evidence that it is in a jointly connected world. They made it very clear it's not. But still, that was cool, and a lot of people, Ryan, in my theater reacted to that as well. Yeah. All right, what's next?
This is from Christopher Benson. Bless you. I wish that Alec Baldwin had stayed on to play Thomas Wayne. I kept seeing that congressman from Dark Knight Rises when this actor was on screen.
Yeah, it's true. Again, we've been over that, but I agree. I think seeing Alec Baldwin playing the role would have been really cool. Now, again, I don't think there was anything wrong with the way this dude played it at all. It just would have been kind of fun to see Alec Baldwin do it. That's all. All right, what's next?
From Ali Hussein. Would you be able to see the Joker again or not?
Yes, I'm going to go. Like, there are some movies that are hard and heavy that I can't see again. Detroit is a movie I can't go watch again. I loved it. It was powerful, but it's too heavy. Schindler's List is a movie I can't watch again. This is a movie that's like that, but I do want to go back and watch it again. I think there's things that for me to pick up again, so I plan on seeing it 2 or 3 more times. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from James Boner. Phoenix gives a chilling performance. Is it Oscar win-worthy? Too soon to tell. Oscar domination worthy? Absolutely.
Yeah, far too soon to say whether it's a win worthy. A lot of people are wanting to pronounce him the winner already, but a lot of those people have never seen all the other candidates yet this year either, and there are still some more to come. Yeah. So let's put it this way. Right now, I can't imagine him not getting a nomination. I can't imagine him not getting a nomination. A win, it's far too early to say. But I do know this. It was an Oscar-winning worthy performance. Now, whether or not somebody else gives a slightly better Oscar-winning worthy performance, we'll have to wait and see. But nomination, to me, no doubt. I'll be shocked if he doesn't at least get a nomination myself. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Brian Rogers. Recovering from an oil burn skin graft.
Ouch!
On top of my foot in the hospital when he told me the movie's development on back in 2017.
Wow.
I'm fine, though. Loved your stuff, John.
Well, I'm glad you're doing well, my friend. Oh, speaking of, it's funny that you mentioned that. My wife right now is going through season 1 of Mayans because she's trying to get caught up so she can watch season 2 with me. And just last night, the episode was on where the dude gets a pot of cooking oil thrown on him. That's not fun.
No.
That is not fun. So I'm glad you're okay, Brian. I'm glad you're good and you're up and around. And yep. Very excited for this movie, my friend. Very excited for this movie. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is another question from James Bonner. The cinematography and overall atmosphere of the film was brilliantly done, including but not limited to, was at the very beginning they used the Warner Brothers logo from that time in the 80s.
Yeah, listen, I think one of the things, and I'm glad some of you guys have already brought it up, a couple of the underrated points of view of this movie are, number one, the score. Mm-hmm. The score was great because the score fed into what was going on in the scene so well. And I'm glad a couple of you guys have already brought that up. The cinematography was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Knowing when, like, a lot of people, when they think of cinematography, and this is understandable why, we think of, sweeping landscapes like in Lord of the Rings, or big sci-fi grasping, awe-inspiring scenes like in Blade Runner 2049, which Richard Deakins won his Academy Award for. That's what but the choices of when to be really close up on Phoenix's face, when to give a medium shot of letting us know what's going on in the room, and when to stay incredibly tight on Joaquin's face. The cinematography decisions made in this movie became a part of the storytelling and became part of why it was so effectively done. So I'm totally with you on that, James. Absolutely, and I'm glad that you brought that up. All right, what's next?
This is from Eric Sowell. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. I felt so bad, but honestly got the biggest laugh out of it.
Oh my God, when he's doing that scene, remember I told you there's sometimes during The Office I had to get up and walk out of the room. When he's doing that and the gun drops on the floor, I almost got up and walked out. It's like, I can't. It's so uncomfortable.
It's a prop, John. It's a prop.
I was so uncomfortable for him at that point. Oh my God, that was good stuff. All right, anyway, what's next?
Okay, this is from Eric again. I love the two uses of "That's Life" by Sinatra. And
That's
something
life.
So satisfying of seeing the classic "The End" title pop up.
Yeah, brilliant use of musical shots and scores and when to use them and how to use them, all in the right place. It wasn't... See, that's the thing about Joker. It's not just brilliant from Joaquin Phoenix's performance. It is a well put together movie. Brilliantly executed on a lot of different levels, and that's why I appreciate it so much, Eric. All right, what's next?
This is from Casinema Reviews. If the woman at the end had been a blonde white woman, you just know everyone would be claiming the movie was setting up a sequel that was Harley Quinn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, if it wasn't that other doctor, yes. As a matter of fact, I saw it with some people, and one of them was even saying to me, I kept looking for which one was supposedly the Harley. Mm-hmm. And I think they were very, very intentional on not having her in there. I think that would have been a bit much. Yeah. So they didn't have that in there. But you're absolutely right. If it was a Caucasian woman at all, everybody would have been insisting that it was... Plus was Harley Quinn.
He kills that doctor right at the end.
Oh yeah. Watch it with the blood on the floor.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I said it's the birth of the Joker to me. All right.
Okay. Another question from Casinema Reviews. Wasn't super shocked when he killed De Niro. Remember what happened last time Joker went on a late night talk show in The Dark Knight Returns?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about The Dark Knight Rises. Yep, and The Dark Knight Returns graphic novel, that's exactly where they went with it and stuff like that. So that's a little bit consistent with what we've done. Mm-hmm. But again, my one minor criticism of that was, I wish there was a way that they could have done it that I didn't blatantly see it coming. Because, to me, it was so telegraphed that he was going to kill him on the show. I mean, it was so blatantly obvious. I wish there was a way they could have done it that we didn't see it coming like that.
There was a time where I thought he was going to go on the show and kill himself.
So you thought he was actually going to follow through with the plan?
Yeah, I thought, well, he's on the couch, he's like pretending to come out from backstage, and he pretends to shoot himself, and I'm like, okay. But then when he starts talking, I obviously knew he wasn't going to do it because he starts going on his explanation. Then okay, he's not going to do that. But at first I thought maybe he was. He's tired of it. He just wants to be done with it. He just wanted to prove a point on TV. But then when he starts talking, I'm like, oh no, he's not going to do it. Yeah.
The one thing to me was, but this is the origin of the Joker, not the end of the Joker. Yeah. So, but they could have shocked us like that.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
This is from Bob's Najar. I like the crime alley scene. Forget about the comics. It shows a pattern between good and evil. One will always spark a cause to create the other.
And then he goes on to say...
I know that wasn't the intention. That's how I saw it.
That's a good way to see. And that's the beautiful thing about film, man, is that we can see the same scenes and they can have different impact. To me, it was dashing in a little bit of the familiar amongst a whole bunch of new. Because this was a new approach to how we've never seen this sort of approach to the Joker character before. And so Todd Phillips then just sprinkled in a little bit of the very familiar at the end. But you saw a different relevance to it. And that's the beautiful thing about the art, man. That's why I love it so much, Bob. All right, what is next?
This is from Koba. Glad the whole Arthur and Bruce being brothers thing wasn't real.
Yeah.
Joker and Batman are not brothers no matter what.
I mean, when that happened, it was kind of like the same thing about the Zazie Beetz. I was like, with the Zazie Beetz, I was like, really? Would she be going and hitting on him?
Yeah.
I don't think so. And then when they did that thing about the brothers thing, I think, okay, that is a different thing to do. It gives us a whole different perspective of the Joker and Batman relationship. Okay, sure. But I wasn't thrilled with it. Mm-hmm. But when he found out that it was all a lie, I mean, that just added to the, oh my God, how bad does he feel now?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And because he was legitimately, I think he was happy when he thought he had a brother. Mm-hmm. He was legitimately, maybe for the first time in his life, I think he was happy. Mm-hmm. So that added to the tragedy of it when he realized he wasn't. So, and it would have been possible they didn't start to set that up. All right, what's next?
It's from Ryan Lohner. So is this Batman going to be fighting a Joker who's pushing 70?
Well, I mean, that just reemphasizes the thing that this is not the DC cinematic universe. Yeah. This is a different thing. This is an Elseworld kind of a story, kind of like how Quentin Tarantino's The Inglourious Bastards killed Hitler.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not how it actually happened.
Yeah.
And Sharon Tate doesn't actually, for those of you who want to know a little bit of Hollywood history, Sharon Tate does not survive the events of that night that were portrayed in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just, it's a little bit of that. So we got to look outside of that kind of perspective, I think. All right, what's next?
Tom Weisenberg's question. Did you also get the sense that when he was laughing as Joker in the third act, it sounded genuine and not like a spasm anymore? Great little touch.
I did. As a matter of fact, I said to my buddy coming out of it, I said, I felt as we were getting closer to the end, it was him laughing. Part of the transition. Remember, they also intentionally said there became a point where he decided to stop taking his meds. And his personality was now changing. His personality by the end of the film is different from the personality we met at the beginning of the film. And you were not alone, Tom. I also sensed a little bit of that authenticity. We might be wrong, but I sense that as well as we got closer to the end of the film.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
This is from Garrett Couch. What a movie. Both the non-existent girlfriend twist and the childhood abuse shook me but made total sense. Wanted to brush my teeth watching those fingers in that kid's mouth.
Oh.
Just wow. Also, Joaquin has to have real dry throat after laughing that much.
Seriously, now again, remember, this is a story that's being conveyed through his point of view. And when a story is being told from a certain person's point of view, you cannot help but feel empathy for them. And which adds to the tragedy of it. This story is a tragedy. The story of Joker in this particular movie is a tragedy. And yeah, your heart sinks when you realize the abuse he took. And you realize that he's never had happiness. And you realize all this kind of stuff. But again, it's being told from his perspective. From his perspective, he was an innocent kid.
Yeah. He's
just an innocent good guy just trying to make his way in the world, and all these bad things happen to me, because that's just being told from his perspective, and that's how he sees it. Mm-hmm. So it's powerful, it's riveting, and it's heartbreaking all at the same time. All right, what's next?
Okay, next one's from Krieger119. I found it funny how Phillips spoke about leaving comedy because of the woke culture, and Joker tells De Niro art is subjective but kills him because he joked about the video.
I don't know if I'd stretch Krieger to try to draw a connection between. Remember, Todd Phillips wasn't putting out a manifesto. He was at an event and just asked a question and he answered something off the top of his head. I wouldn't engage in, it's like, oh, this guy said this once and look how it ties into his movie or doesn't tie his movie, or look how it juxtaposes against his movie or contradicts what he said in the movie. I wouldn't look at it from that point of view at all myself personally, but that's just me. All right, what's next?
Nathan Oswald, I compare Phoenix's disturbing performance in Joker to Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo.
Not the first time the 1 Hour Photo thing's been brought up, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If you go back, by the way, one of his best performances, one of Robin Williams' best performances was in 1 Hour Photo. It's dark and disturbing. You could have done that movie and had him at the end putting on the face makeup and said this was a Joker origin story in many ways. There's a lot of ways you can do that, and I'm glad that's been brought up a couple times. All right, let's take a couple more here before we take a short break.
Okay, this is from Static Space Sean. Walks smoothly away from the cops and then bam, hits the window at the hospital.
Which, what scene was that?
When his mom's in the hospital,
Right.
The cops won't ask him questions. He's sitting on the bench, and he's
Oh,
like,
and then he just
and
walked right into the glass.
door, and then
Oh.
he goes through it again. A lot of people jumped in my screening when he hit the door.
Oh yeah, it was
like, what?
it was something so mundane but so
Yeah.
powerful at the same time. All right, what's next?
The bearded one's comment here. It's really something when Arthur laughs. It's actually causing him pain, and Joaquin's performance was incredible. I didn't want the movie to end. Going on, when he was reading his adopted mother's file, you could feel the pain in his laugh. The third act was simply the best I've seen in a while. Loved every minute. I've never wanted a sequel to a movie more.
Yeah, and probably you've never seen a movie lately that you are unlikely to get a sequel to. More, look, never say never. It's not impossible, but don't hold your breath. I don't think they're going to do enough, and I don't think they should. I think they should leave this alone. Leave it where it is. I think it was great as a standalone movie. That was their intention to do as a standalone movie. Leave it as a standalone movie. It is brilliant. I don't know how you do anything but hurt what came before it by moving forward. But anyway, that's just me. You're right. As he's reading that file, there was part of me that wanted what his mother told him to be true. Like, find out that, it's not your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were adopted. Oh, you were abused. Oh, this and that and the other thing. And then to find that note from Thomas Wayne to his mom, just rub salt in the wound, a little bit, because clearly they had, at the very minimum, a very friendly relationship. Yeah. So there was a hairline of truth to what she believed. Oh, it was so powerful and so heartbreaking.
Do you think maybe she wrote the note to herself on the picture?
Oh, God, you know what? I hadn't even considered that.
So that's why he got mad, because he knows it's not true, so he just...
I never even considered that, but that would make perfect... Yeah. Knowing her, that would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because she was writing those letters to him, because from her perspective, in her own psychosis, she thought, it was like, but that's not my son. That's not what happened. So many different layers. It's a good observation. All right, let's take one more, then we're going to take a short break.
Okay, this is from Daniel Kilgrave. Adored this movie. Incredibly unsettling. The violence felt incredibly real. Every shot felt like a punch. Joaquin gave a beautiful performance. I was scared of him, but I felt for him too. Blown away.
And therein lies the brilliance, I think, of Joker, is that, look, the villains always see themselves as the heroes. The villains are always the heroes of their own story. Hell, every character is the hero of their own story, depending on who's telling the story. When a character tells a story from their perspective, they're the hero. And when they are telling it from their perspective, we feel empathy. And to have us feel the empathy and yet be completely uncomfortable with it and be shocked by what's happening all at the same time, you have the makings of a riveting theatrical experience. Again, I understand it's not for everybody, and I don't expect everybody to love it. But it's just, for me as a film audience member, it resonated. It really resonated hard, and I completely agree with you. It was a beautiful, nuanced, yet powerful and over the top, yet really subtle when it needed to be performance. Some people have been saying in the last few days they still think The Master is his best performance. I honestly, and listen, Joaquin Phoenix was brilliant in The Master. I would put money on this being his best performance ever. I really do. I just thought it was insane on that level. Okay, guys, listen. I can take a short break here, give myself a chance to rest up the vocal cords, stretch my legs for a little bit. Hang tight with us, guys. We will be back in just 5 minutes, so hang tight with us, and we will be right back. We'll see you in just a moment. All right, and we are back. Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we took a few minutes there to rest up the vocal cords. We got a whole bunch more to get through, so let's keep right on rolling. Ryan, what is next?
Okay, this one's from Lewis. Poor Waynes, how many times do they have to die?
It reminds me of the Uncle Ben thing at this point. It's like, oh my God, how many times do I have to die? All right, what's next?
It's from Andrew Odetta. The real victim, Martha's pearls. Hurts every time.
Every time. Yeah. Every time. It's like it's one of those familiar things that a lot of these. You were pointing this out. I remember before we were watching football and you were mentioning that.
I made it. Oh, I get a free lunch this week at work. I made it. I said the Waynes are going to die again, and when Martha dies, they're going to, for some reason, the guy's going to try to pull her pearls off, and that's exactly what happened. So.
And you won the bet.
I get free lunch this week.
All right. What's next?
This is from Static Space Sean. When Arthur said comedy is subjective, I thought of you saying movies are subjective, but I loved his point how society's morals are a joke.
Well, I mean, from his perspective, like, look, society's morals are the only thing that keeps society in check and in place. I mean, they are. But again, this was being told from his point of view, and I just thought it was really powerful the way they did that. Yeah. All right, what's next?
This is from Ike Moore. I've never been more dripping of anxiety than I was during the third act of this film. I even jumped when the guy next to me coughed.
There have been movies I've seen where there's been scenes so tense that, somebody opening a bag of M&Ms made me startle and stuff like that. And there was a lot of moments in that third act, whether it was in his apartment when the midget was trying to get out, whether it was in Murray's studio, whether it was when he was in Zazzie's apartment, they played it up a lot and they did it well. Mm-hmm. And it was tense, Ike. I mean, I felt my guts knotting up into just knots. It was absolutely crazy. All right, what's next?
From Ryan Lohner. His first fully becoming the Joker scored with music by an actual criminal. Brilliant subtext.
Oh, yeah. Gary Glitter or something like that. A guy who's in prison had a song in this thing, which is, you're right. I think there was some purposeful subtext to that. All right, what's next?
This one's from Nate Piacinto. Maybe the whole movie was the joke we wouldn't get. Could have all this made up in his head in Arkham.
Again, I don't think so. I think the movie made it clear about what was real, and then what wasn't real, they made a point to point out what wasn't real. So I personally don't see it that way. All right, what's next?
From Benny95. The dancing down the stairs scene will become iconic. What's your favorite scenes? For me, the whole last 15 minutes.
First of all, yes. The dancing part was crazy. I thought that was great. Famous scene. I don't know if you can say the last 15 minutes are your favorite scene. That's cheating. That's not a scene. For me, gosh, it might have actually been, as weird as it sounds, the scene, the first time he meets Zazie Beetz' character in the elevator. There was something, I don't know, there was something about that moment that was a moment of sweetness in this chaotic movie. Mm-hmm. And juxtaposed against a lot of the other stuff in the movie, it just really stood out. Do you have a favorite scene from that movie, Ryan?
I like the train scene.
Oh, the train scene was crazy.
Yeah, when he comes out of it, and then he kind of has a look on his face like I got away with it, and he's kind of walking down. That part was cool. The stair scene is really cool, too. I think the funniest part on the stairs, and I laughed, is when he's doing all the dancing, and then they just show the cops at the top looking down at him. Like, what the heck is this guy doing? So that part was really funny, too.
All right, what's next?
It's from Kaiju Diesel. My wife and I are catching Joker today before the spoiler discussion and cannot wait. Could you give our son Jake, who is in Austria, a shout-out?
A shout-out to Jake! So your dad, your parents want to give you a shout out, and hopefully you're back. Hopefully you've had a chance to see the movie and you're back now. And I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. I mean, look, not everybody's loving it, so maybe you didn't either, but I hope you do. And again, shout out to your son, Jake. So I don't know if you brought him to it. It depends on how old he is, I suppose. All right, what's next?
It's from Amir B. The real joke, as Arthur wrote, was everyone expects a mentally ill person to behave as if he is not one. From Thomas until Murray in the end, this held true.
No, listen. And I've known several people in my world that are mental health professionals, and I've known a lot of them, and I've heard that saying before, that the way Arthur puts it's like the biggest joke is this, but I've heard it's like the biggest tragedy of people dealing with mental illness is that everybody else wants them to act like they're not. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have chronic pain in your back, people don't expect you to act like you're not. If you can't walk without a limp, people don't expect you to walk without a limp. But if you have mental health issues, people just expect you to act like you're not. And that's why when I saw that, because I've heard a different rendition of that saying before, it was very poignant, and it hit home for me a lot more. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Zo My God Ruler. Both Wayne deaths here and in Batman vs Superman were 1981.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't read anything into it, but they did drop these little things that so people are trying to draw connections. I get it. All right, what's next?
Betty 95 again. I love the use of music, the strings of the cello, his slow and deliberate melancholy dancing evoke pain yet comfort, climaxing at the stairs scene.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, for me, suggested he was finding his own oasis in the midst of his chaos. And finding joy in his chaos. Because remember, he says at one point in the movie, I have never been happy a single day in my life. And then he finds some catharsis. He finds some happiness in these horrible, monstrous things he does. That, to me, just screams Joker, which I thought was part of the reason why I loved it so much. All right, what's next?
Aunt Banks, 1984. I knew his relationship with his next door neighbor was too good to be true, and boom, it was all a dream.
Yeah, again, bravo to them for that set, because I didn't see it coming. I didn't like the relationship with the first. I thought this makes no sense as he beats his way too hot. I mean, blah, blah, blah. And then they said, I'm like, okay, you got me. And then I was totally down for it. I agree with you, Aunt Banks. All right, what's next?
Ben Rayner, loved it, incredible, saw it twice.
I plan to see it 2 or 3 more times. Ben, I'm with you. All right, what's next?
Aunt Banks, 1984. Are you satisfied that this will be a one-off with no sequel happening, or would you like to see where Joaquin Phoenix could take this character?
Here's the problem. This movie just made over $90 million on its opening weekend, breaking the all-time October opening weekend record. The former movie holding that record was Venom. Venom held that record. Now this one does. Whenever there's dump trucks of money, sequels, people want to talk about sequels. I think the plan for this one has always been to be a standalone thing. I really do want them to keep it as a true standalone movie. That's how I would vote, but money does a lot of things. Money changes a lot of minds, so we'll have to see where they go with that. All right, what's next?
This is from...
Initial
D's. Do you think Wayne could have set up Penny and she wasn't actually crazy? He had the money and means to get rid of her. I don't believe his story 100%.
I actually believe it. It actually fit everything we saw. And I believe if you follow the consistency of how the movie told its story, the way it revealed to us the truth about Arthur's background, it felt consistent with how it was revealing the truth about other situations as well.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, Initial, I could see how you could interpret it differently. I can. I'm just saying from my perspective, nope, he got lied to as a kid, which added to his tragedy. So
Yeah.
I believe the records. I believe the records. Let's put it that way. All right, what's next?
Okay, this one's from Leo Milmet. I'm going to say it. For me, it's the GOAT comic book film.
That's awesome. For me, it's not. But I thought it was excellent and fantastic, and I'm glad you liked it that much. All right, what's next?
From Leo again. I hear about the brilliant score. I disagree. I prefer the rawness of the music-free scenes like the scissor scene. Soundtrack song's good, though. What do you think?
No, I thought the soundtrack was great. But that doesn't mean, look, part of the soundtrack is knowing when not to have soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
That's the part of the soundtrack. When they used music, it was perfect. When they didn't use music, it was the perfect time not to use music. And I think that all added into the overall, setting up the emotions of the scene and all that kind of stuff, and why I think it works so well. All right, what's next?
From Leo Milman, the subway scenes were also uniformly excellent. Joaquin Phoenix best acting since Affleck in Manchester.
Well, I don't know that Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea was great, and he won an Academy Award for that. I don't know if it was so great that I would say that this is the best acting scene since that. So I don't know. Look, I'm not even sure he's going to win the Academy Award this year, but it was great. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was great. His performance is stunningly good. I'll just kind of leave my thoughts at that. All right, okay. What's next?
Another one from Leo. I love how they weren't afraid to make Thomas Wayne a philanthropist and decent dude, not just a symbol of capitalism and oppression.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled a lot of stuff with Thomas Wayne, which I think adds to it. Because remember, again, looking at Thomas Wayne through the perspective of Arthur Fleck. So at first, he comes across as a real dick, right? From Arthur's perspective. Then you find out, no, he's right. He impregnated that woman. He sees himself as being harassed by a lunatic who got to his son and touched his son. So from Arthur Fleck's point of view, bad man. But really, he wasn't. I mean, maybe he said a couple of stupid things in an interview, but there was nothing that he did in the movie that suggests he's a bad man. So that's just another way of the beautiful way that they kind of twisted his perceptions of things. All right, what's next?
And then from Leo, I love that the film is super open to interpretation.
To a degree.
Yeah.
I think it is to a degree. But then again, most good movies are to a degree. I still think the movie presented a pattern of when are we showing you something real and how we handle it when we show you something that's not. But yes, there are because you're looking at it through one guy's perspective, there is a little bit of interpretation that's needed for sure. All right, what's next?
Senor Film, love the movie. I do get the feeling that something horrible happened to Zazie Beetz' character.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think nothing happened to her or something did and was just cut out for whatever reason?
Again, I haven't talked to Todd Phillips about this. I believe he murdered her. I believe he murdered her and her child. And I believe, and I'm just guessing and speculating here, I think that Todd Phillips probably felt like that wasn't necessary to show on screen. That might have been taking a little bit too far to show on screen, and we didn't need it. I think they implied it, and I think your instincts on this senior film are 100% right. I think something horrible happened to her. I believe he killed her. I really do. All right, what's next?
Peter Tennant. I believe that this is a script that Todd Phillips knew nobody would see, so he added Joker elements so people would be talking about it. Also, Joaquin Phoenix was great, but never became the Joker.
Disagree on many levels. This was conceived as a Joker movie. Like, that much we know. It was actually, right from the beginning, originally conceived as a Joker movie. I could see, because look, you take away the Joker element, it's still a brilliant film on its own, right? So I could see where you're coming from that. But, that being said, we know for a fact this was a movie that was always conceived as a Joker movie from the very start. Saying that he never became the Joker, I disagree. I believe he embodied everything there is to embody about the Joker. But what I would challenge you, Peter, is this. Okay, what's the Joker? What's the Joker? Is Cesar Romero? Is that Joker? Because if you're going to say that's Joker, well, his and Jack's Joker were completely different. So what's Joker? Was Jack's Joker Joker? Okay. But then Jack's Joker was completely different from Heath Ledger's Joker. Was that Joker? So you say, here's where I want to challenge you on this, Peter. You're saying he never really became Joker. According to who and according to what? Because even in the comic book, like I was reading this one interview with the guys from DC, it's like there have literally been 12 variations and manifestations of Joker throughout the history of the Joker. So when you say he never became Joker, he never became Joker according to what? Or by which standard? Are you saying Cesar Romero was never Joker? Are you saying Jack was never Joker? Are you saying Heath was never Joker? I mean, it reminds me of this story. Bryan Singer was at Comic-Con, and somebody asked him, this was while they were promoting Superman Returns, and somebody asked him at Comic-Con, why did you decide to change the Superman costume? To which Bryan Singer gave a brilliant answer. He said, why did I decide to change the Superman? Change it from what? He said, there have literally been 28 iterations of the Superman costume in the history of Superman in the comic books. So when you say, why did you change it? I would want to ask you, change from what? Which version to you is the only version? Because there have literally been, and today that's probably more, but there had at the time literally been 28 different variations of the Superman comic book. So when somebody says to me, he didn't become the Joker, well, according to who and according to what? And what is your definition of what the Joker is? Because to me, if you understand the spirit of the Joker, I think what he became fit in that spirit of the Joker, that Cesar Romero, that Jack, that Heath, all kind of embodied, and to a degree, Jared Leto as well, kind of embodied. So anyway, that's just my thought of it. But hey, you looked at it and you felt a certain way. I looked at it and felt a little bit differently, and we're both still film fans. All right. What is next?
From Mad Real Cinema, one of my favorite moments is the subtle irony of when Thomas Wayne said, if you ever touch my son again, oh, Mr. Wayne, if you only knew.
Like later in the future.
Yeah.
A lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
You'll never get the best of your son, but woo, he might kill his own ward. You never know. All right, what's next?
It's from Efren Garcia. Bro, the anarchy riots toward the end was indeed captivating to watch. However, I've never felt total dread and doom at an instant when I saw Zorro on the movie theater sign, knowing what was impending.
Yeah, I mean, that got a lot of people in the theaters excited. We were talking about that. I'll also say this, the riot scenes, I do wish, but again, they couldn't break away from telling the narrative from Arthur's perspective. To me, the riot scenes felt like they just popped up. You know, I don't think they did enough in the movie to make me feel like the riots that broke out naturally and organically formed. You know, and it's hard for me to give a lot of definition of that. It just felt like all of a sudden it was just there, and I knew they dropped hints of it throughout the movie. And like I said, I understand you can't break away from the narrative of Arthur to tell the background story of that forming. But it was one of the things that fit. But yeah, man, it was when by the time they got out into the streets and he's leaving, he's in the cop car. It's like the city's burning. Yeah, the city's burning. It's crazy.
I kind of compared it to like when like the NBA finals are done, and then there's a riot within a couple hours of somebody winning a championship. So when he kills Murray, all those people that were already dressed up as clowns and protesting just kind of snapped to, I guess, and mob mentality and just kind of did the whole.
That's actually a good comparison. All right, what's next?
This from Matt Svajada. What was it? The constant smoking? Anything to it?
Dude, I just tell everybody in the 80s always smoked.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, everybody in the 80s always smoked. It just was a real thing. All right, what's next?
From Mosfa again. Movie problems is that Arthur was dumb because intelligence is essential to the Joker character. What is Joker if he can't match wits with Batman?
Joker never could match wits with the Batman. Joker was never Ra's al Ghul. Like, Ra's al Ghul is the only one who truly matched wits with the detective. I mean...
Or Bane.
Bane outthought him. Joker is very intelligent, but again, this is not the story of the Joker. This is the story of the origin of the Joker. To me, the Arthur we get in that room at the very end, in the white room where he's about to kill the doctor, that was our first look at Joker. In that. That's when he was born. Now he's off the meds. Now he's found his path in his mind. That's the beginning of the Joker you're referring to, Matsif, is a Joker that comes well down the line. Well down the line. The Joker you've always seen is an already established Joker. A Joker who has been around for a long time. That's not this Joker. This is him at his birth. And he becomes all of that. He's never the equal of Batman when it comes to intellect, but he is a cunning criminal, but that all comes a little bit later. This was his birth. At least that's how I interpret it at any rate. All right, what's next?
Okay, from Roman Stewart. In my opinion, probably one of the best Batman origin stories ever, even though the movie is about Joker. Mr. Phoenix over-delivered, and now I want more. I
mean, that's going to be part of the... Here's the problem. I'm so excited about there being a true standalone movie, but they did such a damn good job. Now everybody's going to want another one. Everybody's going to want another one. So it's almost like, damn it, you did too good of a job. Can you go back and reel it in a little bit? Because I don't want them to make another one. I thought this was perfect the way it was, but I think you're banging on the money on that, Roman. All right, what's next?
From Matsujada, it was pretty obvious that Arthur just imagined the woman. Dead giveaway was kissing the pillow. Also, De Niro spoiled his death for me in an interview.
Oh, well, that's too... I didn't have De Niro... Like, I mean, I never heard any spoilers for Joker going in. So I'm lucky. I didn't know De Niro gave away his... To me, De Niro's fate in the movie kind of became obvious. Yeah. Maybe a little bit too obvious on that level. But that is unfortunate, though, when a part of the movie gets spoiled for you, especially something that's supposed to be a big moment in the movie or a big reveal in the movie that gets given away by an interview. So if that happened, that's really unfortunate, Matt. So because that shouldn't have happened. All right, what's next?
From Mista 47, I love the sick, twisted humor, like when he dropped the gun at the hospital and when he killed the big dude and the short guy couldn't reach the latch. The thing about the complaints of Joker not being smart enough is that he hasn't had the time to become who he is later, though, so he's not just a supervillain yet.
I agree. Yeah. To me, that's what I would want to say to a lot of people saying, oh, he's not Joker. It's like, well, he was just born. It reminds me a lot of the criticism of a lot of people in Man of Steel. Like when they say, oh, he should have done this in his fight with Zod. He's literally been Superman for a day at that point. Zod is a lifelong military general. Like, yeah, he's not going to just be able to have his way with Zod. He just became Superman. And I would suggest that, remember, Arthur is not Joker yet for most of this movie. He really becomes the Joker. I don't even think in Murray's. by shooting
Yeah.
Murray. I think it's later when he's in the thing and he kills the doctor there, but that's how I kind of saw it at any rate. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Mernal Alir. It opened on Thursday, thus it's a tragedy. Tragedy. I don't know if that's like a pun or something.
Is that a friend? If that one went over my head. All right, what's
Okay.
next?
Strictly mediocre. When the Joker smears blood on his mouth, the score made the scene feel like it was both a loss
yes.
and a win for the character. So hauntingly beautiful.
Strictly, that is such a great example of when the music accentuates the things we're... That's what a good score is supposed to do. Accentuate the emotions that we're supposed to be feeling as an audience given the action that's happening out on screen. And I think it's an astute observation, Strictly. That is a perfect example of how I thought they used the soundtrack and the score beautifully, because you're right. It accentuated all those things that we were supposed to feel at that moment. And I think you're bang on the money with that. All right, what's next?
Mr. 47, you think the success of Joker will pave the way for more solo character study films of supervillains, or even an inverse of this with Bruce?
My hope has always been, Mista, that I'm hoping the success of a Joker movie, a standalone, isolated universe Joker movie, will pave the way for other standalone movies, be they heroes or villains or side characters.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, give me a Jim Gordon movie that's 5 times better than that Gotham show they gave us. You know, I'll tell you what, that Gotham show, it was good when it was about Jim Gordon. When it was always about, look, everybody, this little kid, he becomes Batman. Then the show sucked. But when the show was about Jim Gordon, it worked. Give me that movie. Give me a movie about Selena Kyle. Give me, like, there's so many opportunities. So my hope, Mista, is that's it, because that has been my hope from the very beginning, is that if this movie works, it's going to open the studio's eyes that we can create standalone movies, one-shot movies that are just great stories. And they can be successful, and the audience will like them, and they'll make money. So I hope so, Mista. I hope so. That's all I can say at this point. All right, what's next?
I feel like all the villain movies would have a bummer ending all the time. Like they all become villains for like a bad, like Mr. Freeze, his wife. He's trying to save his wife for Clayface.
It could become formulaic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there would be a danger of that. So I don't know how often you go the villain route, but but other characters.
Still be cool though. Batman. Some of his villains are kind of corny, but some of them are actually really cool. So
I want a Superman Red Sun. That would
That'd
be
be cool.
that would be
Yeah.
an amazing thing. All right, what's next?
okay, from Strictly Mediocre. The opening scene where Arthur was laughing uncontrollably was a bit much for me. I kept thinking, okay, he's done, but nope, he kept going.
To me, it set the stage. To me, that's the scene. Look, I can totally see why you thought it was a little bit too much. I get it. But for me, it was like setting the dinner table. That's what that was to me. And I think a lot that came after that worked because of that moment for me. But that was just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, from Vrinder Singh. Hi, John. I'll just simply say that it's the best film I've seen all year. And I know there may be better films to come, but I don't see anyone putting in a better performance than Phoenix. When Arthur kept laughing uncontrollably and I could see his pain and anguish, a lot of the audience laughed at those moments. They didn't seem to get that it was a sickness, that it made me a little upset.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, Vrinder, right? The thing is, I think the audience is supposed to not know how to react to that. So when you're in a situation like that, one of our emotional responses is, but also one of our emotional responses is laughter. Because, I mean, look, for a long time, the audience didn't fully understand what it was that was causing the laughter, and so we laughed. So I don't think there's anything there for us to be upset about because other audience members laughed. That's just how they experienced the film, and that's how it hit them at the moment. Regarding Phoenix, though, and his performance and Oscar stuff, there may have already been a better performance in Phoenix this year. I'm not saying that there is, but there may have already been. And we've got a number of other ones coming this year that are very high in a lot of awards predictors lists. So what I'll go back, Vrinder, is, pardon me, is what I was saying earlier about, I think this is going to be one of those things where I will be shocked right now if he doesn't get nominated. I will not be shocked if he doesn't win. And because there have been a couple of fabulous performances and we've got more to come. So I think it's way too soon for anybody to say he should win, he should win. How do you know he should win? We haven't seen the other ones yet. Let's see the other ones. But I will say I'll be shocked if he doesn't at least get nominated. It was, I think, the performance of his career. I think one of the best performances of the year, maybe the best performance of the year. We've got a ways to go before the end of the year to know that for sure. But we're getting close, man. We're getting close, but it was truly, truly special. Absolutely. All right, what's next?
Okay, from Masvajada, sequel. Duology could work, becoming the foe to the bat.
I don't want to get that bullshit shared cinematic universe garbage out of here.
Yeah.
What made this special was that it wasn't shared cinematic universe. Just leave it as a one shot. Now, again, you might get what you're asking for because this movie made so much money, so maybe they'll force it, but they shouldn't. They should just leave this as it is. They should totally just leave this as it is, in my opinion.
Do you think Joaquin Phoenix would want to do it, or do you think he doesn't want to do it?
I don't think he would. He mentioned something the other day about, maybe, me and Todd have talked to, if we ever did, what would we do? But I don't think he would. He can say that all he wants, but I don't think he would. But you never say never. Never say never. You never know. Money does a lot of things. All right, what's next?
From Madhu Vatan. I watched Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy for the first time before watching this. It made the movie a little predictable, however, I still loved it.
One of the best things about Joker is exactly what you were just saying, Madhu. I've heard from so many people that have said to me over the past month or so that they keep hearing the comparisons about King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, that a lot of people who have never seen those classics have gone, I'm going to go watch those then before Joker comes up. That's one of the best things to come out of Joker, is that so many film fans have now been turned on to these great, great classics. You're right, though. I could see that maybe watching those for the first time now before seeing Joker, maybe it made a little bit of Joker a little bit predictable, but I'm super glad you took the initiative to watch those films, man, because those are all-time classics.
It kind of reminded me of that movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show the other day, too. All it takes is one bad day.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
This is from Dominic Francis. Favorite film of 2019, Joaquin blew me away. The score and cinematography were amazing. Favorite shot was him drawing the smile with his blood, so powerful.
Dude, like when he just reaches to his mouth and gets the blood out of it, it's like, not only is it a powerful moment, but how symbolic is it?
Yeah.
Right? It is totally a Joker thing to do. It's an allegory about his path is going to be painted in blood moving forward. I mean, it was a foreshadowing. It was allegorical, it was symbolic, and it was just badass in the moment. It was a great, great shot, Dominic, for that reason and many more. All right, what's next?
And then Dominic followed up with the theater gave away Joker posters, which was awesome.
Dude, I always love when the theaters do these poster giveaways. That's awesome. All right, what's next?
For Magic K, the comparison of psychologists asked the question to Arthur from the beginning to the final scene is just is possible the whole just as crazy fantasy point of view, just like things actually happen, just Arthur was not involved the whole time, like he's delusional.
Again, I'm seeing a lot of people asking that question, and maybe once I watch it again, maybe I'll change my mind. But again, my position still stands that when I saw the film, I never had any of those questions. To me, the movie made it clear when there were things happening in his imagination and when it was real. And I didn't I didn't feel the need to extend the question beyond that. So for me, it worked. And for me, the movie made it very clear which parts were real and which parts weren't. So I don't think it was all just his crazy fantasy. I don't think this whole movie was just made up in his mind. I think everything happened the way the movie says it was happened, and the things that weren't real as they appeared, the movie showed us wasn't real as they appeared. So that's how I kind of interpreted it. All right, what's next?
Okay, the next one's from Bruce Gordon. There was a lot of under 16 people at my screening.
Well, remember, an R rating doesn't mean people under 18 can't get in. It just means if you're under 18, you just have to be accompanied by an adult. Yeah. I mean, so you can bring a 5-year-old to this movie, right? Yeah. Maybe they should work on that. I don't know. But remember, it just means you got to be accompanied. That's all it means.
Yeah, plus, when I was younger, you can go watch a different movie and sneak in to watch something.
It's harder these days with pre-assigned seating.
Which is true, yeah.
Especially if it's going to be sold out. All right, what's next?
Let's see. This is from John Argot Rodriguez. Hi, John. Love the show. I personally love the movie and the fact that his own self-contained story, and but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious about seeing this Joker and Batman.
I think that's fair, because I think you can make an argument that this movie doesn't do its job if it didn't make you curious about what comes next. I mean, it doesn't do its job if you don't imagine where does this Joker go from here. I don't think that means they need to do that. I think they should just keep this movie at a one-shot movie and now move on to something else. But if it didn't at least make us wonder that stuff, John, absolutely. Yeah. It wouldn't be doing its job. Because, look, first of all, when he goes to Wayne Manor and meets Bruce for the first time, I started wondering, I'm looking at Batman versus Joker right here. And, your imagination goes to that place. Mine too. But, again, you'd be talking about, by the time the Batman comes into his own, you'd be talking about Batman versus a 70-year-old Joker at this point. So, I mean, it should make us ask those questions. It should make us fantasize about that. Absolutely. But I don't think that's an argument for it to move on. But I can, not only do I understand your feelings on that, John, I completely relate. All right, what's next?
The Caribbean Great Gatsby. The movie is so deep, it mirrors society nowadays.
In an exaggerated way, yes. But a lot of movies do that. Is it a mirror of society? Yes. But not a, what I would call a one-to-one direct copy reflection. It's an exaggerated reflection. It's a hyperbole reflection. But it's a reflection of elements that are there that were in that world as well. So yeah, and that's what makes it Gatsby. That's what makes it more disturbing, is the fact that it does have that feel of realism and our own world reflection to it. You're totally right. All right, what's next?
From Royce Freeman. What do you think of the claims that people are making that Joker's character is reactionary and he is not the cunning Joker we know?
Well, again, I already kind of addressed that. To me, this was not Joker yet. He only becomes Joker in the final minute of the. I think in the final 30 seconds of this movie. Before that, he was what he was before he was Joker, and that he becomes it. I think that's one thing that a lot of us got to keep in mind. All right, what's next?
Okay, this one's from KW Garrett 83. Since he invented first time on De Niro's show an imaginary Zazie, unsure what was real. Maybe he did shoot De Niro, but everything after that was a fantasy.
Again, to me, the movie made it really, really clear. When something was happening that wasn't real, the movie then revealed to us that it wasn't real. And so I had never saw any indication at all through the rest of the film why we should not have taken it at face value about what they were saying was real. So I think it was all real, except the stuff that they explicitly told us wasn't. So that's how I interpret it. All right, what's next?
This is from Vayu Nandan. I was young. I didn't watch Dark Knight in the theater, and no social media at that time. What was it like to see Dark Knight in the theater and Ledger's performance?
It was nuts. I still remember the first time I saw it. It was at a special press screening at a big IMAX in Los Angeles. It was actually the IMAX theater at Universal City Walk.
Oh, okay.
And from that first shot of the cityscape before the bank robbery, so immersive, so amazing. And yeah, Heath Ledger's, because you got to remember, everybody at this time now, Heath Ledger's the greatest ever. Everybody hated Heath Ledger's casting. Everybody hated it. All these BS history writers today go, no, I always do Heath Ledger's casting was great. Shut up, you liars. No, you did not. This is like everybody now goes, oh, I always like Ben Affleck's casting as Batman. Shut up. Because I remember I was the only one that liked Ben Affleck. Me and Schnepp, we were the only ones. And when we said it, we got so much shit from everybody. You know, claiming, oh, I'm just in Warner Brothers' pocket. I'm on Warner Brothers' payroll. And I'm just, no, I think this is going to be a great choice. Anyway, everybody likes to rewrite history. But seeing him in that was crazy. You know, it reminds me a little bit of when we first saw Avengers. And we saw Hulk in Avengers. It was the Hulk we'd all really been waiting to see. And I feel like for a lot of people, while we had Jack's Joker, which is awesome, and we had Caesar's Joker, which was awesome in a very different way, I felt like a lot of us felt like this is the Joker we'd been waiting to see. Even though Heath's Joker was very unlike a lot of the comic book adaptations of Joker. He was a very, very unique Joker from the comic books. But everybody pretends it wasn't, but it was. So yeah, it was a great time, man. It was a totally. Do you remember the first time you saw it?
Yeah, I went with my sister. We went to in Irvine, I think. And my sister doesn't watch comic book movies, but at that time, that movie had so much hype around it, especially because he passed before it came out.
Right.
So a lot of people were just curious to watch it that weren't even comic book fans. And I love Batman Begins, so I obviously wanted to see it. But yeah, we went to the thing was packed. This is back when you had like get there 2 hours early to get a seat because there was no assigned seating. So we were
the dark
waiting.
Days.
We were waiting in line for a long time, but it was super good. It was still one of my probably the best Batman movie. So,
all right. So what's next?
It's from Chi-Town Rules 09. As easy as it is to watch the first time, the next two, not so much. Still overall a great film and a discussion piece with who you saw it with.
Dude, Chi-Town, I haven't had the opportunity to see a second and third time yet. I plan on it. But I can't remember the last time I saw a movie other than maybe Detroit. But not enough people saw it to have a lot of Detroits. But I never came out of a movie since Detroit that I so wanted to talk to somebody about the movie. Like Detroit was a movie that I came out of going, oh my God, I got to talk to people about this movie. But there was not a lot of people saw it. Joker, I mean, love it, hate it, whatever. Best movie ever, movie with some flaws, worst movie ever, whatever. It's a movie you just feel like you want to talk about. There's so much to unpack and get into there, Chi-Town. So I'm totally with you on that. All right, what's next?
From Henry Stevens, the song Joker dances to on the stairs is from a convicted pedophile called Gary Glitter.
Yep.
Seeing him smile and dance to it gave me chills.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. I don't know if that was done on purposefully with a sense of irony, if there was if it was ironically played or not, but it definitely did have an effect. All right, what's next?
From Timothy Platt, this wasn't that dark. This was reality. One of the things I've liked about the character of Joker is the organized chaos that he brings. Didn't get enough of that, in my opinion.
Well, again, I go back to you're expecting to get an established Joker who's been the Joker for the long time already. This wasn't that movie. This was a movie about a guy who ultimately later becomes the Joker. And so we only got a glimpse of that near the end, but they shouldn't have given us that. This isn't a real origin story. If by the time we meet him, he's already that guy. Mm-hmm. If by the time we meet him, he's already that guy, then it's not an origin story. It's not telling us how he became that. And so that's why I didn't see that enough. We shouldn't have seen that in there. He should have been a different person that transforms into that person. And that's what I thought we got. I thought we got that. And again, I don't think I would call it reality. I think it was an exaggerated reflection of our reality. Yeah. Our reality is not exactly like that. That is not how things work. But there are elements of that is true. There's an underlying theme of that's true. That was just exaggerated a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times. Our reality was magnified 3 or 4 times for that's reality. So on that level, Timothy, I did think it was pretty dark. All right, what's next?
And then also from Timothy, also the whole thing being in his mind completely wasn't a waste of time at all. Sarcasm.
But the whole thing wasn't in his mind. That's the thing. There were elements that added to the overall storytelling, but the whole thing, if the whole movie was just in his mind, then we're left with that one truly awful Zack Snyder movie, Sucker Punch, where you find out, so it was all just in her head. Mm-hmm. It kind of made it feel, then the whole thing was pointless to watch, Yeah. That wasn't the case with Joker, so that's not something we need to worry about. All right, what's next?
From Colin Z. Am I the only one who laughed at Super Cats?
I had a number of people in my theater that laughed at the thing. What do we get? Super Cats? Yeah. It felt like a joke that would have been told at a late night talk show in that era. All right, what's next?
From Jermaine Sneed. Joker's score built such a sense of dread. The last score to do this for me was in Chernobyl.
Ooh.
Look it up, and yep, same composer. Hildur, I'm not even going to try to say that name.
It's funny that you mentioned that because the other night, Corey comes over here a couple nights a week. And I was upstairs working on some stuff, and I went downstairs, and Ann and Corey had not watched Chernobyl yet. And I went downstairs, and they were halfway through episode 2 of Chernobyl. And I had to stop what I was doing because I just had to sit down and watch it again. But you're right. There are definitely elements to that, Jeremy, and well done looking that up because you got some good spidey senses there to recognize the similarities. Well done. All right, what's next?
From KW Garrett 83. Was Thomas Wayne his dad? Did Arthur kill Zazie at the end in her apartment? Film doesn't provide a lot of definitive answers. I enjoyed it, but so many questions.
To me, it wasn't that mysterious. Thomas Wayne was not his dad. I think he found that out through his own sleuthing. I believe it made it pretty clear he killed Zazie. Mm-hmm. To me, that was clear. But it didn't definitively give you that answer. I think partially because he felt that would have been too much, but also because did it really matter? Like, really, is the ending of this movie really affected all that much, whether she was still alive or dead? Maybe a little bit, but I think for the most part, no. But to me, it was no doubt that she was dead. I can't remember if you weighed in on that. Do you think she was alive or dead by the end of that movie?
I thought she died because he walks out and there's like a siren in the window and stuff.
Yeah, so, and total silence from her apartment. Yeah.
And now that I think about it, it's kind of like he let the dwarf go because he said he was always nice to him.
Right.
And Zazie's character didn't do anything bad to him, so I mean it's possible he just left her there, but I think they did it for a reason to leave it like that. So
all right, what's next?
This is from Mike Hill. I want to see this Joker with a Batman.
I respect that. I do not. I absolutely do. I do not want to see a 70-year-old Joaquin Phoenix fighting a 28-year-old Batman. Not me. But I respect that you do, and you're not alone. There are other people who do as well. All right, what's next?
Collins E. I was asked by someone in the theater after my first showing if I agreed this was a soft reboot of the DCEU. They seemed disappointed when I said no.
Well, they may have been disappointed, Collins, but the fact of the matter is you were just speaking truth. Yeah. You were just speaking truth to them. I get it. Look, when you walk out of a movie and it's excellent, you may think, make this part share it because it was excellent, right? But that was the point, to make an excellent standalone movie so they can hopefully make more excellent standalone movies. Go ahead and keep making your shared cinematic universe stuff, and I'll keep loving that stuff too. But give us a mix. Give us some shared cinematic universe movies. Give us some great standalone stories that aren't impeded by all the other stuff going on in their universes. So that's my thoughts at any rate. All right, what's next?
Lucas Porto, oh my effing God, this movie, so many interpretations.
It's you. I mean, to me, there's not that many, but there are some. There absolutely are some. I mean, for instance, the Zazie Beetz thing, that's something we can't get around because it never definitively answers it. I feel like it answered it one way, but it's not necessarily the truth. All right, what's next?
And continuing with Lucas, I think at the end he was remembering how he ended up affecting Wayne's death and creating Batman at the same time, where he had his origin as Joker.
So you think the end was actually like a fast forward of 15 years or something? I don't know that I agree with that. To me, he looks exactly the same age. I don't think he's looking back on the death of Wayne's or his creation of Batman, or because Batman at that point is 8 years old or 7 years old. So I'm going to say I disagree with you on that one. I mean, who knows? There are other possibilities, but I'm going to say I disagree for now. All right, I got time for just a couple more here. What's next?
Okay, Christopher Mason. After seeing this movie twice, it made me wonder: could they retcon Leto to be influenced off original Joker shown here?
No, I mean that would do a couple things. Number one, it completely undermines the purpose of doing a standalone movie. It's a standalone movie. Number two, you don't have to retcon anything in the DC. I mean, I liked Leto's Joker. I didn't like what they did with him. I didn't think they used him properly, but I liked that Joker very much. But again, you're undermining everything by just saying, "Oh, I like this Joker. Let's just retcon that in." I'm not for that at all in any way. All right, what's next?
Tyler Yates, Joker was something else. I liked it. At times felt uncomfortable, but I think I need to see it again. I did like the stair scene. Wild movie for sure.
And I think I think what you're expressing, Tyler, is exactly head on. We were supposed to feel uncomfortable with it. I think if we walked out of that movie completely unaffected and never feeling uncomfortable, then for those of you that maybe that happened to, the movie didn't do its job for you. Because I think that's what the point was. It meant to make us feel uncomfortable. So I think you're absolutely on the money with that, Tyler, and I'm with you 100%. I feel like I need to see this 2 or 3 more times. Minimum 2 more times. Minimum 2 more times. Maybe 3 more times, and then we'll see where I'm at after that. All right, what's next?
Okay, from Abdul Alons. Hey, John, Phoenix's intense performance as he lashed out at Murray and the Jokerish tidbits of laughter and nihilism is truly haunting and astonishing.
There were so many things, Abdul, in that scene that resonate, not just because of the actual dialogue, which was profound. Some of it a little on the nose, but deeply profound nonetheless. Then his actions of what he did with Murray. The kiss of the guest on the show. The
that
one
was good.
That was funny. But also you just start to see Jokerisms. You just start to see Jokerisms at that point. Again, to me, the birth scene is when he kills the doctor. But you start to see those moments in there, and it's all that, Abdul, that kind of culminates into just a really freaking fantastic scene, from my point of view, at any rate. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is from Gurjo Hothi. Joker jump scaring Gary as he was going to the door was a great Joker moment, and Arthur laughing in offbeat moments during the stand-up was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I felt so bad and uncomfortable during his stand-up comedy routine part. It was like, I almost felt, in a good way, I wanted to get up and walk out of the room because I was so uncomfortable. Just like, it was nuts. And yeah, that moment with Gary, again, like I said earlier, that was great because I felt like Phillips knew we needed to dash in a little bit of laughs here and there, just a little bit here and there, and I think he did a good job on that. All right, let's take one last one here today.
Okay, this is from Colin Z. I know it's meant to be partly humorous, but in the scene where Gary can't reach the lock, I felt so bad for him.
Oh, because I thought he was going to die.
For sure.
Like it wasn't just like I felt bad for him because he's short. I felt bad because I thought he was going to die. I thought that was all coordinated by Arthur and he was going to kill him right there on the spot. So I felt bad for him in that way. But yeah, it was a great moment. All right, guys, listen, we've gone a little bit over 2 hours here. We're going to wrap it up because I can't go any further. I'm spent. I am now tapped out. I can't go any further. But listen, guys, don't you worry. From Min Tran and Colin Z and Best D14 and all the way down, everybody else who sent in comments, do not worry. In the next 24 hours or so, maybe 48 hours, we're going to do a follow-up to this, and where all your questions I got asked will be answered in a follow-up video. I want to thank my buddy Ryan for being here and helping me out with this. Ryan, thanks so much for doing this. You didn't have to do this today.
Problem. Thanks.
You actually saved me. I wouldn't have been able to do this if you weren't here helping me out. And a special thank you to all you guys who are here and sent in these comments, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about when it comes to Joker, but also because you supported the channel along the way as you were doing it. Again, my apologies, I can't go any further, but if I push it, I might not be able to do the John Campea Show tomorrow, so I need to rest it up at this point. But again, we will do a follow-up video to this one and finish out all the Joker stuff here pretty quick. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, guys, and until next time, bye-bye.